What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another video. Now, over the past 3 to 5 years now, the one thing that has been extremely interesting in the NBA community is how quick certain people are willing to give up their top 10s list. And I find it extremely interesting is because it really tells what a person values when they're trying to rank or rate an NBA player. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who you have in your top 10, to be honest with you, because it's your opinion. And when I make certain videos like this, I'm not really debating someone's opinion. I'm more so debating the logic, the bias, and the lack of knowledge that a person may have when they're ranking a certain player. And sometimes it is hard to call out somebody when they are biased or they're misinformed. But there is one thing that I use that's almost foolproof at this point that can consistently call out somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about and expose them for being extremely biased. And with that being said, today's video is brought to you by the word consistency. Yes, people, being consistent is very, very key, even when you're living your everyday life, but especially when you're trying to make arguments about where certain players should rank all time. For example, let's say you believe Anthony Davis is a third, second, or even the best player in the NBA because you love defense. That's all you talk about is defense, 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 defense. Well, we can disagree, but I understand where you're coming from. Anthony Davis is one of the better defensive players in the NBA, and he's a great offensive player as well. However, you can't then turn around and say Kawhi Leonard is like the 9th best player in the NBA, or don't even have Joel Embiid in your top 10 and have Towns ahead of him, because that doesn't make any sense. Those are two other really, really great defensive players. And so the lack of consistency in your argument and how you rate players just doesn't make any sense, and it wouldn't add up. And with that being said, in today's video, we're going to talk about OSN's list, his top 10s list that for whatever reason he deemed it necessary to upload on this platform. And now the reason why I want to bring up consistency is because that is a reoccurring theme in this video, or at least inconsistency. See, inconsistencies, like I said before, is a great way to just weed out the BS. It's a great way to just make sure you understand that the person you're talking about doesn't really know what they're talking about. And OSN is a great person to try this out on. And before we get into the top 10, he's going to tell us some of his honorable mentions. So right out the gate, Allen Iverson being anywhere near close to a top 10s list is laughable. But again, we're going to be optimistic here, and we're going to just assume that OSN really values offense, because that's really the only thing that Allen Iverson brought to the game. But the key player that I want to make sure I highlight is Hakeem Olajuwon, and that right there is the key to this entire video and its inconsistency.
Then I got Bill Russell, all right? He's got 11 rings, 7-1 in the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? We get all of that. All of the other big men on this list are more dominant offensively than him, right? He's just not offensively that dominant. Tim Duncan. Now, some people might have Tim Duncan at 10, Bill Russell ahead of him. The reason that I put Tim Duncan ahead of Bill Russell, I think he has more offense. Both of them are not flashy, right? They both have a lot of rings. I have Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt is for sure better than Bill Russell, in my opinion. If you go look at the stats, every time they played, he would dominate the hell out of them.
So right out the gate, we have Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, and Wilt Chamberlain. 3 players who are extremely great, dominant big men in their era. And there's 2 things that he consistently brought up when trying to explain why he ranked them the way that he did. A, offense, regardless if it was lack of offense with Bill Russell or being a more offensively talented players such as Tim Duncan and Wilt Chamberlain, and B, championships, which is the reason why you have Bill Russell making the top 10 despite the fact that he really and truly isn't that great of an offensive player. But even with fewer championships, both Tim Duncan and Wilt Chamberlain are ahead of Bill Russell because of their offensive abilities. So that's very, very key for the rest of this video, because that more likely means that offense and championships should be 2 of the more consistent themes that we see when he is criticizing these players and ranking them amongst one another. But as we all know, that's more likely not going to happen.
Oh, good. At number 7, I have Kobe Bryant. Now, Kobe Bryant, to me, was the hardest thing about this list. The second reason, he has the most misses of all time. Player efficiency rating, a very important stat, PER. Kobe's player efficiency rating is not even in the top 10. Kobe is not efficient at all. And as we start to get into these guys all the way at the top, These are the most efficient basketball players.
Now, this is where I have to give OSN his first strike, people. I mean, I can't allow him to just keep going and speak so ignorantly without me correcting him. So this is strike number one. Strike number one, though we're still going to be optimistic about OSN, but strike number one. PER, I know it has the word efficiency in it, but that does not equate to shooting efficiency. This is a common mistake I see amongst casual fans and novices when it comes to speaking basketball. And what's even more interesting is how so many people just sit down and they stalk those stat sheets. I call them the stat sheet stalkers. They sit there on Basketball Reference and they look at these numbers and these stats, and half the time they don't even know what they're looking at. But all they see are these numbers, and they hear people talk about PER, and all of a sudden you have somebody who sees the word efficiency in player efficiency rating, and all of a sudden they try to correlate that with shooting efficiency. No, that's not correct.
Next up on my list is Shaq. Now for me, Shaq is the most dominating. Shaq is the best big man ever. In my opinion, I think Shaq is the best big man ever. I would take Shaq over Kobe. If I had to pick one to start a team, I'm taking Shaq over Kobe. And here's why. If you take Shaq and you take Kobe, and they're both on a terrible team, Shaq is going to get you more wins. Shaq can get you 50 wins with a trash team. Kobe, there's been years he's had trash teams, or not even insanely trash teams, and he couldn't.
And here we go with strike number two. See, this is where things get a little shaky here, OSN. You got one more strike, and until we get there, I'm going to be a little bit closed-minded, but I'm still going to be open, but I'm going to have to, you're going to have to meet me halfway here, because claiming that Shaq had the ability to lead a team to 50 wins with little to no help, more so than Kobe could, well, that doesn't make any sense. For starters, when it comes to Shaq, he's never been on a bad team. He was drafted by the Orlando Magic, and in his sophomore season, they added Penny Hardaway to his team, one of the greatest perimeter players of his time. And from there, he went from the Orlando Magic to the Los Angeles Lakers, where in the season prior to him getting there, they won 53 games, and the year before that, they won 48. And then, even when he got to LA, as we all know, he eventually played with one of the greatest players of all time in Kobe Bryant. Again, one of the greatest perimeter players of his time. Then he went from LA to Miami, played with D Wade, one of the greatest perimeter players of his time as well. Then went from Miami to Phoenix, played with Steve Nash, one of the greatest perimeter players of his time as well. And then went from Phoenix to Cleveland, and guess what? He played with LeBron James, one of the greatest perimeter players of his time as well. So again, there was never a moment where Shaq was ever on a team by himself where you can make any argument, or at least a legitimate argument, that he could lead a team to 50 wins. Furthermore, if we look at Shaq's prime, which many people would consider between 1995 to 2003, Shaq couldn't even consistently play more than 65 games to even lead a team to 50 wins. So how is that even possible? But you know what's even more funny and ironic about this is that Kobe was actually on pace in 2008 to lead the Los Angeles Lakers to a 50-plus win season before Powell joined the roster. Now you can sit here and make an argument, well, that wasn't the full season, and so I'm making assumptions, but the Los Angeles Lakers had a record of 30-16 before Powell got there, and I don't believe that winning 20 more games was that far-fetched, but that is closer to leading a team with little to no talent to 50 wins, more so than Shaq has ever done at any point in his career, because again, there really hasn't been a point of his career where he was on a team with no help. So that doesn't make any sense either. So that's strike number two. But again, we will continue. We'll give OSN just one more chance here.
Number four, I really want to put Kareem here. I really want to put Kareem at number four. I have Kareem at number three. I really want to put Kareem at number four. Because I never saw Kareem. I didn't really see Magic either. I like Magic more. Okay, I have Magic at number four. He's literally basically like LeBron. He can do it all. He can play any position on the court. He can do it all. He's just a little bit not as strong or as athletic as LeBron, but he can literally do it all.
Now let's pause the video right here just for a quick second. I want you all to just remember this nugget right here. He's very similar to LeBron in referring to Magic Johnson. Just keep this in mind. It's very, very important that you keep this in mind. Keep Hakeem Olajuwon in mind, and keep consistency, the word of the day, consistency in mind. So I know I'm overloading your brain, but just 3 things you got to keep in mind when we're talking about this video.
I think I might rather have Magic than Kareem, but all of the GOATs, everyone's list who I was looking at, all of the stuff that everyone has Kareem in the top 3, if not 1 or 2. Everyone has Kareem in the top 3. I'm going to respect everybody's decision, put Kareem at number 3.
Now, I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but just keep that in mind one more time as well. Keep in mind that the reason why he has Kareem ahead of Magic isn't because of any research that he's done, isn't because of his own personal preference, because his own personal preference just told him to put Magic ahead of Kareem. The reason why, though, he has Kareem ahead of Magic is because everybody else told him to put Kareem ahead of Magic.
At number 2 and number 1, I have Michael Jordan. At number, I have Michael Jordan number 2, and I have LeBron James at number 1.
Oh, did you get it right? Did you get it right? Who would have guessed that at the very, very end of the video, he would thus start to be completely inconsistent? That's strike number 3 right there. But we're going to give him a chance to explain himself because for whatever reason, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, LeBron is not as talented offensively as Michael. LeBron doesn't have as many rings as Michael as well. Those are 2 key components that he's utilized so far to explain why certain players are ahead of some other players. And also, most media members and all-time greats state religiously that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. So again, the same reason why he put Kareem over Magic isn't because of something of his own opinion, but because of what other people stated. So let's hear what he has to say to the reason why Michael Jordan is not ahead of LeBron in this conversation.
Everybody always likes to say, this is what everybody always likes to say. Michael Jordan has blah 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 rings, 5 rings, blah blah blah. LeBron is okay. This is my
amazing, just on time, just like that. It's almost like it's clockwork. OSN pulls out the classic old blah blah blah, 6 rings, blah blah. Rings don't really matter argument. Oh yes, that's what a classic. That's a classic argument right there. But for whatever reason, when it came to Bill Russell, they mattered. When it came to Tim Duncan, they also mattered as well. Matter of fact, majority of people on this list all have multiple championships, so I can't imagine that winning 6 championships, as you tried to casually pushed aside, didn't have a huge reason to why Michael Jordan is at bare minimum the 2nd greatest player of all time. Furthermore, when it comes to winning championships, I know a lot of people love to act as if like it's only a team accomplishment. However, LeBron, for the better half of the last decade now, has purposefully tried to put himself in situations to win as many championships as possible. Not record as many points, not record as many steals, not record as many rebounds and assists, but to win as many championships as possible. Matter of fact, majority of you all didn't become emboldened enough to even make these arguments until 2016 when LeBron won a championship.
Michael Jordan cannot make it to the finals every year. Like, no one ever likes to talk about that. Like, yeah, he's got all, bro, he didn't make it ever. Like, why didn't he make it every year, bro? If he is so good, so unstoppable, why can't he make it every year, bro?
Now, before I break this down, let's actually look at OSN real quick. I love how he glances out in the distance and then he kind of just gathers himself to come up with another classic but terrible excuse. Why can't Michael Jordan make it to the finals every year? If he's so great, why can't he make it to the finals every year? Well, let me ask you this. If LeBron is so great, why can't he win every single time he goes to the finals the same way Michael did? You see how stupid that question sounds? The same reason why LeBron can't beat the Golden State Warriors is the same reason why Michael Jordan in his rookie season couldn't beat the Milwaukee Bucks, and up until 1990, he couldn't beat teams like the Pistons and the Celtics because he didn't have enough talent around him. Again, the same reason why LeBron can't beat the Golden State Warriors. Like, imagine me sitting here asking you every single year why LeBron can't beat the Golden State Warriors and believing that that's a legitimate argument. It's not. And for the people out there who make that argument, please shut the fuck up. You sound stupid. Nobody ever wants to hear that.
There's the fact that no person in NBA history is better at taking a scrub team far than LeBron.
He's in the Eastern Conference. That's the reason why he has the ability to do that. But I want him to continue because, again, I want you all to understand how terrible these arguments are and why they're so inconsistent compared to the rest of his list.
Here's another one for you. LeBron is going to be the only player in NBA history to finish top 5 in scoring and top 10 in assists. Okay? He blows Jordan's assists out of the water. He's about to pass Jordan in points in like a month or two. He blows his assist. He's just all around a better player than Jordan.
Michael Jordan is the only player who was top 5 in scoring and top 5 in steals. The only player. And up until Kobe passing him not too long ago, Michael Jordan was top 3 in points and top 3 in steals. So for the people out there like OSN who are acting as if like LeBron is the only one who's going to be top 10 in 2 different statistical categories or top 15 or top 20 in a certain amount of statistical categories, please spare me. Michael Jordan has accomplished that as well. Just stop. I know for whatever reason you don't count steals or blocks or turnovers or free throw percentage. I know those are 4 stats that many people commonly use, but for whatever reason you went out of your way to look at PER despite the fact that you don't even know what that is. But you know what a steal is, you know what a block is, but for whatever reason, you love to overlook those things. But yes, Michael Jordan is top 3 up until when Kobe Bryant passed him, top 3 in both points and steals. And he's still top 5 in both points and steals to this day.
LeBron James is way more well-rounded than Jordan. Jordan is not as good of a passer. He does not get as many rebounds. You know what I'm saying? He does not get as many blocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, LeBron is just all around better than he is.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The final argument. Michael Jordan is not as a well-rounded player as LeBron because LeBron, he records more stats. Well, he's supposed to because he's played more games. That's like me sitting here saying that Kobe Bryant has more points than Michael, more rebounds than Michael, more assists, higher three-point percentage, and a higher free throw percentage than Michael. Nobody doesn't make that argument though because I'll be ignorant because Kobe played more games than Michael. But for whatever reason, when it comes to both LeBron and Michael, people act as if like that's a legitimate argument when we all know LeBron is going to play more games than Michael. Duh, that's obvious. Not only that though, when they played the same amount of regular season games, Michael had more points, Michael had more steals, blocks. Again, I know people like to act like steals and blocks don't exist. Michael had fewer turnovers, another stat for whatever reason people act like that does not exist. And he had a higher free throw percentage by nearly a 10% margin. And also when it comes to being a better all-around player, that was not part of any argument of any player that you made prior to this moment. But for whatever reason, matter of fact, let me take that back. It was an argument. It was an argument from Magic Johnson, but you still didn't put him ahead of Kareem. So that doesn't make any sense because it's inconsistent. Also, when it comes to Kareem, you can't sit here and tell me that, well, Michael is not as good as LeBron because LeBron can take any team far. When Kareem during his prime, when he didn't have either Oscar Robertson or Magic Johnson, Kareem was struggling to get out of the first round. So, to your argument, Kareem should not be ahead of Magic. I mean, Magic is a better all-around player. You said it yourself. Magic is similar to LeBron. You said it yourself.
Jordan, when we're talking about offense, okay, Jordan is the best offensive player we've ever seen.
Whoa, what you just say?
Jordan, when we're talking about offense, okay, Jordan is the best offensive player we've ever seen.
Whoa, say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Jordan is the best offensive player we've ever seen.
So this right here is where I'm going to end the video because it's pointless. You can't sit here and just tell me that Michael Jordan is a better offensive player than LeBron, but the entire video you've been ranking players over one another because of offense. But here's something that's even more interesting. Like I stated before, remember he didn't put Hakeem Olajuwon on this list. Now let's pause and let's think about all of the players that he's been ranking throughout this entire video, including LeBron and Michael, and some of the standards that he set for these players and why they're better than somebody else. For one, when it comes to rings, apparently when it comes to Michael Jordan, that doesn't really matter. It's blah, blah, blah. None of that really matters. But at bare minimum, Hakeem Olajuwon has 2 championships, the same amount that Wilt Chamberlain has. Second thing you brought up was being a better all-around player. Well, if that's the case, then at bare minimum, he should be higher than Shaq as well. Because Shaq is not a better all-around player than Hakeem Olajuwon, especially on the defensive end and when it comes to rebounds. Another thing you brought up is leading a scrub team to 50 wins, and when it comes to LeBron, leading them far into the playoffs and eventually making it to the finals. Well, again, like I said before, Shaq never did that at any point in his career, but you know who did? Hakeem Olajuwon. See, again, these levels of inconsistency just doesn't make any sense to me, because Hakeem Olajuwon, for multiple times throughout his career, led teams with no Hall of Famers on the roster, no All-NBA performers on the roster either, to 50 wins. Matter of fact, the year he won his first championship, there was no All-Star, no All-NBA performer, no Hall of Famer on the roster, won more than 50 games, made the NBA Finals, and won the championship. Something that nobody on this entire list can say they were able to do. But for whatever reason, he's not on the list. Another thing you brought up was his statistical excellence. LeBron James will be the only player who's top 10 in points and assists. Well, for people out there who don't know, Hakeem Olajuwon is top 15 in points, steals, blocks, and rebounds. That sounds pretty impressive. That's definitely statistical excellence. That should easily put him in the top 5 at bare minimum. And then finally, you talked about making it to the finals every single year. Well, if that's the case, why wasn't Jerry West in the conversation? Matter of fact, why didn't even Jerry West make your honorable mentions? You know why? Because you don't know what you're talking about. That's why. The reason why we don't take you serious is because your basketball knowledge is small. Go back to making reaction videos. We don't want to hear your opinions because they're biased and misinformed. Go back to making 2K live videos. Go do that. But when it comes to making top 10s lists and talking about the NBA, at least become informed on what you're talking about, so we can have a legitimate conversation, so we can start making legitimate arguments. Because until then, the level of inconsistency throughout this entire video is embarrassing. Go back to reacting to videos, man. Stop. Go play 2K, go play live, go do something, man. But just stop. Stop making videos like this. Because it's obvious you don't know what you're talking about. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.